Oh, thank you.
Okay.
So why don't you, let's inform our audience members. Let us know, who is media literacy now? And
All
also
right.
maybe you, that, well, why don't we start with that?
Okay, so we're an advocacy organization, and we are leading a grassroots movement so that public schools, the public education system, is going to provide the skills that all students need in the 21st century. So the literacy skills, so that they need for health and well-being, and also for working today, and for participating in civic engagement, and also for parenting. So that's what we are doing, and we have been growing rapidly. We have maybe a dozen or so state chapter leaders that are very active. We have many, many bills going through the various state houses, and we have big plans.
Yay. Thank you. Well, I mean, in the way that you put it together, it really encompasses like all of our facets of our life, the schooling and participating in civic life, parenting, as well as just working, right? To
Yep.
sort of to live in this society, we have to be media literate. So let's define or redefine, we continue to define and redefine media literacy. So what is your version of media literacy, or at least how would you define it?
Right, and there are a lot of, or several anyway, different definitions. And since media seems to keep changing around us, maybe we have to keep updating our definitions. But for us at Media Literacy Now, media literacy is about learning to decode the messages in all forms of media. And sometimes that includes decoding the systems, understanding the system. So, okay, I can understand what this ad is trying to get me to do, but how did it show up at the top of my Facebook feed, right? So that's the system, the algorithms behind it. And then, of course, there are so many different kinds of media now. So we've got augmented reality and artificial intelligence, and we've got sort of all these privacy and surveillance questions. So this all comes into that whole media system. Okay, so you're decoding the message. You are then recognizing what is happening, what is the effect on me as an individual and on our society. What's the effect on our behavior, our attitudes, our thoughts? And then finally, a very key part is creating with media. So we're all creating. You're creating right now, creating media. We're whether it's writing or it's video or it's audio, it's YouTube, whether it's posting something to your Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, you're creating. So learning how to create effectively, efficiently, responsibly, that's media literacy.
I love how you put that: effectively, efficiently, and responsibly.
Ideally,
right?
yeah.
Right. In the old version, before the internet, right, we had the mass media, and it was like the mass media who would communicate messages, and we were decoding messages for the mass media. But this version, now that we're living in this networked world, as you were saying, right, we have the system that involves AI, artificial intelligence, and augmented reality, and really just a more complex way of living. And so, so we're taking that into account, means that we're all participants, right, in this digital society that influences the individual and society. And so here we are creating a message right now and participating, in which ways.
I think one of the real game changers here is that not only can you create media as an individual, but you can reach anyone, the whole world, right? So, and anyone can reach us. So that's something that's really exciting about today's media environment and a real game changer, but it's also something that means that we really have to be paying attention to how young people are using these tools that are so powerful. It's really an urgent job.
Yeah, I obviously feel, and agree with you. And we do hope that people who are listening would also agree, that to be literate, to be aware of all, the influences of media and how we influence media. And then not only that, but how we influence society and how society through media shapes us as well, right? I don't know how often I've been shaped by different ways of thinking and my role as a female in the context of like different movies even, or
Yeah.
growing up with Disney, and there's so much to
Right.
say.
Well,
um,
yeah, I mean, representation is so important to how we see not only other people, but ourselves.
yeah,
It's very powerful. So
yeah,
gotta be paying
well,
attention, teaching children.
yeah, and I'm curious to know, because I'm thinking like I actually don't know when you started this project and how long media literacy now has been around.
It seems like forever. I got started less than 10 years ago, maybe about 10 at this point, but I started writing about the issue of media literacy and marketing and media and how it's affecting children. And I was writing at that point, I was writing for parents, and it became more and more clear that media literacy was the solution to so many of these issues that I was finding. So that led to working with my local school, well, my own son's teacher. We talked about this issue of media literacy and how it could be taught in schools. And this teacher actually put together a unit of advertising decoding for fifth graders. And then from there, well, that was really great because I could see the kids. I went to the class for this, and the kids were so engaged. It was really exciting to see. And I realized, wow, there's something to this. So we worked together then to get a grant to train the teachers in the elementary school. And at that point, we started to realize, there's some barriers here. What is keeping this from getting to all the classrooms? Well, it started to look like a systemic problem. So that's when I started looking at working from kind of the top down. So writing a bill and working with a legislator to get it introduced in Massachusetts. And we did that. In fact, it was Catherine Clark, who was a state senator at the time and is now a member of Congress.
Wow.
That was basically where it started. From there, just kept moving and growing, realizing that we couldn't just wait for Massachusetts to take action. So decided to turn to a national model and attract others that might have some ideas on how to take action and move all of this forward. And that's when people like yourself showed up to take action in New Mexico and Washington State and Utah and New Jersey and Hawaii. So we've just had like this amazing outpouring of enthusiasm and passion across the country to, do something in our state to help the teachers, help the children, help the parents, and really, frankly, help all of us. All of us need this, and we all need everybody else to be educated so that, with media literacy skills to face what's, ahead of us.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, this is pretty amazing because, a decade, a lot has changed in a decade. Like you were talking about,
Right.
just how, some of what what media literacy has changed, and what has changed since you started this, or your
Right. I know.
approach,
What
or
is it? 9. So 9. So let's say 9 years. So this was fifth grade. My son's in fifth grade. Did he have a smartphone? No. Facebook was small at the time. You couldn't communicate with your child in school while they were listening to the teacher and also texting under the desk. But neither could they couldn't reach everybody in the world, and the whole world couldn't reach them. So at this point, what a game changer that that's the situation, that anybody can reach our kids at any moment. And we have to prepare them and be ready for what's what that means, so they can reach anybody, they can put out messages. So in some cases it's great, they're leading movements, they're being creative, they're doing just fantastic things with these tools. But other times they can get into some serious trouble that's actually life changing, even life threatening, and some really bad, dangerous situations. So got to do something about that. Need some skills, need some tools, need some education, K through 12.
Yeah, I was thinking back, and I was, as you were saying, like fifth grade, and I was thinking, wow, that was the time like where, you know, things were more regulated, I guess, right? We had, the movies, right? We have access to Netflix and any channels, and if parents don't put any controls on it, anybody can watch anything on the internet or Netflix or whatever other, form of communication that they're choosing. Whereas before it used to be so much more regulated, where parents, there was like after PM content, right? That
Right,
doesn't
right.
exist
It
on
doesn't
the
exist.
internet. There's no, it's like anytime
Well,
content for anybody, right? So we have that. And then I was thinking,
I think
so
about
that
how,
was like the ratings.
the ratings.
Go
Well, I think
sorry.
about just, it used to be that it used to be the advice that you should, leave the computer in a public place, or the television in a public area of the home, so that you could see what your kids were watching or doing online. And that's just so quaint almost now. They've all got their little computers in their pocket. You can't see what they're doing. And so it's really much different.
Mm.
Definitely much different.
Yeah. And so, I mean, but it's, at this point, I think that's why different states have different approaches, right? As far as like what they're focusing on, like what New Mexico has focused on, or what Florida has focused on, is different than like what New York has on the slate. Some of, right? Isn't that correct as
Yeah, I
far as
mean,
like
definitely the states.
bills?
Hmm? The
Go
states,
ahead.
the states make their own education policy, and so we're very cognizant of that. Like, that's their right, and they have different needs and different approaches in states across the country, as we know, as we've seen, certainly different priorities. So definitely, it works to approach this on a state-by-state basis. But let me tell you about our new plans that we are currently working on. So we've got this sort of top-down approach right now with the state leaders. But in order to really make systemic change, we feel like we need to kind of work bottom up as well, from the grassroots, so that we're creating this desire and this need and this demand for the kind of education that we all need. So while we're encouraging policymakers to make systemic change, we're also encouraging advocates of all kinds at all levels to fight for the change in the education system that we need. So that you're working with your teacher, with your children's teacher, with your school principal, the school district, your organizations, your civic organizations that you work with, whether it's a county government or the PTA. Just really trying to make change from the bottom up at the same time as we're working on change from the top down, so that these things both work together and we can make change faster and reach that place where we want to be for the 21st century skills that we're going to need.
Yeah. I love it. I love, I guess that's part of learning, right? Like you started this 10 years ago because of your kids and what you
Yeah.
saw the need, you were writing about it, which led to one thing, led to the other. And you worked on the top down approach and realized, actually, maybe we need to redesign a little bit and work from the other approach as well. So, I applaud you and the work that you have done, and how much, I saw on the website the impact, that media literacy now has had
Yeah.
with your numbers. And I think that's really amazing. So I'm wondering how people, if people wanted to know more about, media literacy now and wanted to, touch base with their own state rep, chapter chair, or wanted to become a chapter chair and wanted to work towards media literacy, or wanted to implement media literacy, at their district level, etc. How can they find you? What's the easiest way to find you?
Sure. Go right to the website, medialiteracynow.org. There's a lot to find there. If you want to learn directly about what you can do right now in your town, your school, go to our Pathways page, medialiteracynow.org/pathways, and that will give you lots of ideas. Now, you can also find that page if you go to our Take Action tab. So that's one of the main tabs up there, and you'll see all sorts of fun tools there to get you started. We have a video for advocates. We have a toolkit, some model bills. So people who are interested in getting involved more at the state level, they might first check and see whether we've already got somebody working in your state. So New Mexico, you want to call Pamela. Other states, we've got other people, and you can find that on our who we are page. And then you come back and you look at the tools and you think about it. Maybe you want to start small, start with your school, and then you go to the Pathways page and you learn about some ideas on how to get started right where you are. And that's a good way to go, really. Just get started, do something. That's really, in a way, that's why I created Media Literacy Now, because there are so many people out there who are so passionate about this subject, right? And they just want to know, what can I do? How can I get plugged in? How can I get started? So this is like a vehicle that you can just hop on and, come along, and we can make some change together and really, change the world.
I love that. Thank you. All right. So let's all get out there and change the world in whichever way we feel. We know that there's a need. I see all the time different messages for people to say, oh, we need media literacy.
Yeah.
And so here's an opportunity to get media literacy, in schools or et cetera, and like finding support and different approaches to it. I also saw that you were fundraising, and there was like a fundraising page that you had. If anybody wanted to donate, where did they go?
Thank you very much. We certainly can use your support, and people who want to donate and help make this change happen faster. You can go to our website. There's a button there, support our work, or you can just go straight to medialiteracynow.org/give. We've got a lot of plans to, as I said, work at the local levels and help people and provide them with the tools they need and the guidance. And it does take resources. So thank you. We can use that sort of support as well.
Yeah. And you're a nonprofit, recently became a nonprofit?
Yeah. Well, we became a 501c3 technically not too long ago. So yeah, your donation is tax deductible.
Tax deductible. Perfect. Are there any parting words, anything you want to say as we sign off?
Oh gosh, Pamela, media literacy is literacy in the 21st century, right?
Yeah,
all,
great.
You need that for everything, and for working, for participating, literacy for learning, lifelong learning. We're going to make it happen.
That's true. Well, thank you so much for joining